Let's welcome back to the show retired ICE Acting Director Tom Homan. Tom, we know this has been a trend, that instead of caravans, border crossers, they know they don't want to get busted in a caravan, so now they're hopping onto trains. We hear from border officials this is an increasing phenomenon. And there's one coming out of Guanajuato right now, arriving to the border within days on train. What's your reaction to this story?
Well, during the last surge, they also took the train. There's a big train called the Beast. They call it the Beast. It comes from the Guatemala border through Chiapas, Veracruz, all the way up to Nuevo Leon, just south of the Texas border. So it takes them all the way from the southern border of Mexico to the United States border. And they do that because, number one, they can get around any military checkpoints, police checkpoints. They don't have to pay the smugglers. But they're surprised once they get to the border, they do have to pay somebody to be able to cross that border. But it's a dangerous thing. I mean, 400 to 500 migrants can hop on that train anytime, sit on top of the boxcars. Many have been killed. Many have been maimed, legs lost, arms lost. And it's a very dangerous thing. And the Mexican officials can stop it if they want. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. They have yet to take any action on shutting down the transportation by the train.
Yeah, so when we've been covering these stories, we've always focused on the humanitarian angle, that the U.S. is a humanitarian nation. We are pro-immigrant. It's that when you do it illegally, it is really dangerous because you're on the way, as you just pointed out, you could lose a limb, hopping on a train and falling off of it, or you face human smugglers, drug traffickers along those routes. So now we have this story, your reaction to the Washington Post reporting that Mexico is saying, you know what, we're not going to take back in Central American migrants trying to cross the border. What's your take on that story?
Well, it's already happened. They're refusing to take family groups because of the Title 42, the COVID restriction. So right now, Liz, no one's talking about it except this network. They're up to over 3,500 encounters a day. Now, do the math. That's over 100,000 illegal alien attempts, entries a month, which is over 1 million a year. We're at the surge. The surge is here. But the real issue is Mexico won't take back the family groups under the COVID 42 restrictions, which means Border Patrol's releasing family units from the border every day. And they're not tested for COVID. These people are being released into the country. Now, they should go to ICE detention, but the Biden administrations are working on ending ICE detention in private detention facilities. Even the advocates are still arguing for President Biden to end the use of private detention facilities, which would basically shut ICE down. ICE has limited beds now. Congress already cut them by 40%. There is 2,500 family beds, and you take COVID restrictions into account, now you're down to 700. ICE will fill them beds in one day.
Okay. And
everybody else is getting released into the United States with no COVID test.
Okay, that's an issue. We know Texas is moving military medical personnel to its border. We're going to stay on that. There's also this story. We saw that there was a growing rebellion inside the labor union for ICE, that basically the former acting DHS secretary, Assistant Secretary Ted Cuccinelli, basically struck a deal with the labor union for ICE, and the labor union now gets to sign off. They have extraordinary power over even minor policy changes to the border. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, what I know about it, and I think it's a bad decision. I think it's a bad agreement. You can't take the management's rights away to run the agency. I mean, they're responsible for maintaining an $8 billion budget, and executing the plan on the southwest border and all across this country, deploying officers where they're needed. That's management's job. But my understanding, this agreement that was made gave up a lot of management rights to the union. Now, union has their place. A lot of men and women in the union that I deeply respect, but they shouldn't be running the agency. They have their role. Management should have their role running the agency. This agreement was bad for the agency. It's going to be bad to execute emergency policies when you got to bargain with the union ahead of it. It used to be post-implementation bargaining, which means if you want to make a sudden change, you could bargain that after the emergency subsides. But this agreement is pre-implementation bargaining, which means you got to negotiate with the union for a response to emergency.
Okay.
It's a bad agreement.
We hear you, Tom Homan. I have to clarify. He was former acting deputy Homeland Security Secretary Ken Cuccinelli. Okay, Tom, thanks so much for your insights. We hear what you're saying, and thanks for your service to our country. Come back soon. I'm Elizabeth McDonald. You've been watching the Evening Edit on Fox Business. Well, that does it for us. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you have a good weekend.